Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning back to Sir Muhammad Ismail bin Osman. Today's presentation, my group is going to present about water and mineral uptake. But first, I'm going to introduce my group members, which is me, Izzati Liana, will explain about the water division that has two pathways, and Zarifa Zaipria will explain more about the mineral uptake through passive transport, while Nick Naufarifki will explain about active transport, and the last one, which is the mutualistic relationship, will be explained by Anis Farhana. But first, we're going to take a look at the learning outcomes, which is the first one, we're able to choose the correct order of mineral uptake across the plasma membrane within the plant cell wall, and the second one is, we'll be able to describe the mutualistic relationship that assists plants in the acquiring nutrient from the soil. So, there are two main ways that water and dissolved minerals can enter a root. I will show you the figure that we've prepared in our slide. So in pathway A, water weaves its way in between the cells, diffusing from the porous cell wall to one cell of adjacent cell. Entry of water past the cell wall is blocked at the casparine strips, which is a waxy layer that surrounds the endodermal cells. And here, the water is forced to enter endodermal cells through the plasma membrane. While in pathway B, water travels from plasma membrane of one cell to the plasma membrane of another cell, connected by openings called plasmodesmata. Regardless of the pathway, water enters root cell when osmotic pressure are present, which is when the root tissue has a lower osmotic pressure than the soil solution. That is to say that if there is more water outside the root and less water inside the root, then water will move by osmosis, causing osmotic pressure into the root.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. I am Zarifa Zaifira and I will be explaining about the mineral uptake through passive transport. So let's get started. I will be explaining about the mineral uptake by plants through passive transport. So plants absorb minerals from the soil in the form of inorganic ions. And most of the minerals of plants are absorbed by the roots. Why we use root? Because of the large surface area of roots and its ability to absorb minerals from the soil is more efficient as compared to any other organs. So, passive transport does not require any energy, and it moves from through the concentration gradient, where from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, and it can be same as diffusion. So let us take a look to the diagram. So here we can see through simple diffusion, the higher concentration of ions at the outside will diffuse to the inside because of the lower concentration here. But there are also ions that cannot go through this plasma membrane because of their permeability. So with the help of carrier protein, the ion can go through into it. So the ion will combine with this carrier protein to form a carrier ion complex. From that, the carrier ion complex can move across the plasma membrane. So when the carrier ion complex reaches the inner surface of the membrane, they release the ions into the cell, and then the carrier protein will go back to the outer surface to accept new ions. So that's all about passive transport.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Leng Afarifki. Next, I'm going to explain about active transport.
This is the diagram of active transport. So we know that plants absorb minerals in ionic form, for example nitrogen as nitrate, phosphorus as phosphate, potassium as potassium ion. Active transport. Active means work has to be done. Active transport will move molecules and ions from a lower concentration to a high concentration. which means against concentration gradient. This is totally opposite with diffusion and osmosis, and because it is not natural direction, energy is required to make it work. So now we know that energy of ATP is involved. It is involved but indirectly. So now recall that plant cells absorb minerals in the ionic form. These ions cannot cross the plasma membrane because they are unable to enter the nonpolar portion of the lipid bilayer. The plant cells expend energy to actively take up and concentrate mineral ions. If roots are deprived of oxygen or are poisoned so that cellular respiration cannot occur, this mineral ion uptake is diminished. Okay, so now this proton pump, this protein called proton pump will hydrolyze ATP to ADP and phosphate to transport these hydrogen ions out of the cell. The result is an electrochemical gradient that drives positively charged potassium ions through a channel protein into the cell. So this potassium ion will transport through this channel protein into the cell, and these negatively charged ions and positively charged hydrogen ions will transported by carrier proteins. Because hydrogen ion is moving down its concentration gradient, so there's no energy required to move this hydrogen ion. But the movement of hydrogen ions down a concentration gradient provides the energy for ATP synthase to form this ATP from ADP. So in short, to sum up, an ATP-driven pump transports hydrogen ion out of cell. This will result to electrochemical gradient, and that electrochemical gradient causes this potassium ion to enter by way of a channel protein. So after that, step 3, these negatively charged ions and this hydrogen are transported together through this protein. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Ani Farhana binti Roslan. Now I'm going to talk about the adaptations of roots in obtaining mineral nutrients. So basically there are two mutualistic relationships to assist roots in obtaining mineral nutrients, which are first the relationship between roots and bacteria. Second, the relationship with mycorrhizae. Let's start by talking about root nodules with bacteria. In root nodules, there is bacterial nitrogen fixation that change nitrogen from air into ammonium. This conversion is important for plant to get the nutrient because plant cannot absorb nitrogen. And next, rhizobia is one type of the bacteria that fix nitrogen in soil, and the process of nitrogen fixation require anaerobic environment. So, the presence of oxygen is important in this process. That's why nitrogen fixing bacteria live in root nodules because root nodules have high level of oxygen that enough for cellular respiration. So we can see in this association, the host plant provides food and shelter for bacteria, while bacteria provide nitrogen in form that plant can use. Now let's go to the last mutualistic relationship, which is mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae is symbiotic association between fungus and root plant. In this association, fungus will increase the surface area for mineral and water uptake. So the process will be easier. And at the same time, it also break down the organic matter in the soil and release nutrient for plant growth. So in return, the root furnishes the fungus with sugar and amino acid. So we can see here that mycorrhiza is also one of the important mutualistic relationship in plant growth.